Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Thursday evening. We're back with another massive show to bring you guys tonight. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. On the show tonight, we are going to be reacting to Erik ten Hag's press conference ahead of the Aston Villa game this Sunday. Some really interesting things were talked about, including the future of Raphael Varane and Johnny Evans, an injury update on Mason Mount, Malacia, and of course, Lisandro Martinez, as well as some other bits as well about the new stadium. Erik ten Hag was asked a bit about the sporting director and about a potential decision to be announced in the next week or so. We'll be going through all of the potential options that Manchester United are currently looking at. And I will also open up the show to let you guys have your say on who you think the new sporting director should be. And finally, we'll be talking a bit more about the stadium. A story just broke a couple of hours ago saying that apparently Jim Ratcliffe is going to include the fans and let the fans have their say in a vote almost system on what they want to do with the new stadium, whether to knock down Old Trafford and all the rest of it. As always, I invite you to have your say on all things Manchester United in the comments section below. I try and make the shows as interactive as possible, so do feel like you can get in the comments section and answer the questions if you're watching this back on repeat. I always read through all the questions. I love to see what other Manchester United fans have to say, so make sure you do get involved. So let's start off with the Erik ten Hag press conference then, because some really interesting things were discussed, as I said. So let's talk a little bit about Johnny Evans and Raphael Varane. So for anybody watching the show live, you can get involved in the poll right now. So the question is simple. What would you do with Varane? We can either sell him in the summer, give him a new contract, so that would be complete new terms, or you give him a 1-year contract extension. So just to give everybody a bit of context so everybody knows what the situation is with Raphael Varane. Obviously, he's 30 years of age. He turns 31 in a couple of months. He's got 1 year left on his contract. So his contract expires in June 2025. So we either need to sell him this summer, or effectively he'll probably leave for free the summer after. So you've got three options. You either keep him until the end of his contract, which is in 1 year, sell him in the summer, or let him go for free. So get involved in the comment section. Let me know what you do with Raphael Varane. Obviously, if you are watching it live, get involved in the poll. I will now give you my opinion because I can't ask a question without answering it myself, of course. So for me, Raphael Varane is probably our best centre-back still. I think him and Martinez together is one of the best centre-back partnerships in the Premier League. Genuinely, I believe that. I think it's up there with, Saliba and Gabriel. I think it's up there with, a John Stones and a Ruben Dias. I think it's up there with a Joel Matip and a Virgil van Dijk. Like, I would honestly take Varane and Martinez probably, on par with any of those people. But Raphael Varane can only play one game of football a week. All of those other players we've mentioned can play 2-3 times a week, easy, 90 minutes. Varane just about manages to play 90 minutes a week. And even then, I think he struggles, to be honest. Like, obviously, he played in the win against Wolves on, I think it was a Wednesday or a Thursday last week. 2 or 3 days later, we play Aston Villa. He's on the bench. He's unable to start the game because he ultimately, he just can't play that amount of football in such a short amount of time. So for me, that kind of just answers the question, really. We don't have much of an opportunity to make any money back on Varane, really, do we? We've got 1 year left of his contract. We either sell him in the summer or we let him go for free. So I think, to be honest, it's a no-brainer. I'm glad that we've kept Varane past the January transfer window. I think it would have probably been a bit stupid to sell him in January unless, you could bring in a replacement. But the thing we have to remember is, right, the Saudi clubs are circling for Raphael Varane. And there's a story that broke earlier on today saying that apparently Raphael Varane is set to be offered a mega deal by Saudi Pro League club Al Nassr, who are apparently willing to pay him as much as £50 million per season. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? It says Al Nassr are willing to pay $50 million a year in wages to sign Raphael Varane in the summer. Obviously, it's the same club that Cristiano Ronaldo plays for. Raphael Varane is a massive player at the end of the day. He's a massive brand. He's won countless Champions Leagues. He's won all sorts of things, World Cups. So he is a massive player. I think for me, if you could get 30 to 50 million for Varane, you have to take it, to be honest with you. I think we're trying to get rid of these players on high wages, and Varane is one of those players. He's on 350 grand a week. As I said, he can only play one game of football per week, and this is our chance to cash in on him, you know? I get that he's probably our best player in that position, but I honestly would rather have somebody who's, I don't know, like a Todibo or a Gonzalo Inacio or you know, someone like that, or even a Jared Brathwaite, but someone who is young and can play 2 or 3 games a week. I know they're not at the level Varane is yet, but if I said to you, you can have somebody who is a good player, could become world class, but is available 3 games a week, versus Varane, who is world class for 60 minutes per week. Like, I don't think it's a very good comparison. So for me, I would move him on. And then, so the reason we're talking about this is because Erik ten Hag was asked in his press conference what the future is for Varane and Johnny Evans. And he says, we haven't made our decision yet. So he's clearly not 100% on keeping either of them. And for me personally, as much as I like Johnny Evans, as much as I respect what he's done for the club over the years, you know, in his first spell here, he's another one who definitely has to go. You know, Maguire, Johnny Evans, Rafael Varane. I would probably get rid of all 3 of those. You know, you probably keep Lindelof as a backup centre back. Obviously, Luke Shaw can play as left-sided centre back. Martinez would be back by then, and then in the summer you go and buy 2 other centre-backs. That's what we really need to be doing this year. You know, whether that's Jared Brathwaite, whether that's Jean-Claire Todibo, Gonzalo Inacio. There are plenty of options out there available, and I think we need to really, really get some youth into this team. We've seen what Kobbie Mainoo, Rasmus Højlund, and Garnacho can do. Those are our future. We need to, you know, fill the rest of our team with young, youthful people, because if you look through the spine of our team at the moment, right, obviously Martinez is, I think, 25, 26, so he's relatively young still. But if you look through the rest of them, our best midfielder, Casemiro, I think he's 31. Our best defender, Varan, is 30, 31 this year. Like, if you go through the list of all of our different people, Maguire's 30, Luke Shaw's 29 this year. Like, they're all kind of around 30 now. And we need to really start thinking about the future. You know, some could even argue that Bruno Fernandes is 30 this year. Like, the spine of our team, our best players, are all 30 or older now. Other than obviously Kobbie Mainoo, Garnacho and Højlund. But they're more breakthrough players. You know, you wouldn't... A year ago, people wouldn't say Kobbie Mainoo was one of our best players. Like, most people probably didn't even know who he was. Whereas Casemiro has obviously been around for a lot longer, hasn't he? Let's see what people in the chat... Somebody says, isn't it crazy that we're talking about selling Varane before Maguire and McTominay and Evans? Mate, I want all of those people to go in the summer. I want Maguire to go, McTominay to go, Evans to go, Varane to go. And the thing that you have to remember is, right, you can only sell players that people want. Okay, it's easy for us to say, get rid of Maguire. But if nobody wants to buy him and nobody wants to match his wages, then you can't get rid of him. You know, you can't just throw him out. Like, it doesn't work like that. Whereas we know for a fact that Varane will have interest from Saudi. We know for a fact that Al Nassr want to sign Varane. We know for a fact they'll probably double, triple. Well, they will. They'll give him 50 million a year. That's about $1 million a week. It's probably about 3 times what he's earning at United at the moment. So it's already kind of written, the story. Whereas Maguire, there's no news of Maguire leaving. I wouldn't be surprised if Maguire says, you know, I'm a Manchester United player. I'm going to stay. I'm going to fight for the badge. I'm going to run down my contract. Like, I would not be surprised at all if Harry Maguire does that. Maguire's only got a year left of his contract as well, remember, guys. So if we don't get rid of Maguire this summer, he could leave for free next year. Like, that's crazy to think, isn't it? That, you know, Harry Maguire, who's been here for God knows how long, I think since 2016, in 1 year's time, he will be a free agent. So, you know, maybe in the summer he just says, you know what? I don't mind being a backup at Man United. I'm going to stay here for 1 more year. And then maybe he leaves the summer after for free. Like, that could well happen. Okay, so we've talked about Varane and Evans. Obviously, if you are watching this back on repeat, do get in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. And everyone who's just joined, please smash a like on the video. Let's try and hit 200 likes on today's show. We can easily do that if everybody watching right now likes the video. Okay, let's talk about the sporting director. Because this is one that really, really interests me. It really, really does. And I want to go through some of the options of who the new sporting director could be. And obviously, I want to get you guys' opinions as well. But yeah, so if you are watching this back on repeat, you can get involved in the comment section. if you're watching this live, obviously get in the live chat, and I will set up a poll to kind of go through it. So I'll read out the options that are the most likely at the moment and give you a bit of a backup, bit of information. So we have got Thiago Pinto is a name that probably most of you don't know. He's the sporting director at Roma, but apparently he has just left, so he is an option. Another option is, of course, Dan Ashworth. He's probably the most trendy name at the moment, but a lot of people seem to think that Dan Ashworth won't leave Newcastle. I don't know. I'm going to get a poll going quickly. So whilst I do this, everyone like the video. Let's do next director. Let's do a simple one. Who should be the next director of... It's quite hard to type and talk. If anybody's... Right, next director of football. So we've got Dan Ashworth. We've got... Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell. Let's go Thiago Pinto. And then let's just go with those three for now. See how we go on. Okay, cool. For me personally, the other option as well, actually, sorry, is the guy from Atletico Madrid. I'm just trying to remember what the guy's name is. Yeah, that's it. Andrea Berta from Atletico Madrid. He's another name that we've been linked to. He's found some really, really good players, to be fair. Andrea Berta, really good players. He won Sporting Director of the Year as well in 2013. I'm just having a look at the players that Berta has signed, because he signed some really, really good people. He obviously brought Trippier there. He brought who else has he brought? So Joao Felix, obviously, Carrasco. Like he's Llorente. Yeah, he's discovered some good people. But I think for me personally, it would either be Dan Ashworth or Paul Mitchell. One or either of them I'd be happy with. In an ideal world, you'd get Dan Ashworth as the director of football and Paul Mitchell as the head of recruitment. But the headline is apparently, guys, that Manchester United will, be finalising the new director of football in the next kind of couple of weeks. So we should hopefully get a bit of confirmation on who that will be very, very soon. Right, let's move on to the next topic, though. Let's talk a little bit about the new stadium. I Love UK Garage says, Varane's contract runs out this summer, but United have the 1 year option. United don't want to activate due to the wages he is on. Technically, he can go for free in the summer. Yeah, I was thinking that, but if you look on his page on Transfer Market, it says his contract expires in 2025. So I don't know whether they've already triggered it, maybe, because if they hadn't already triggered it, then surely he could have already agreed to go to Saudi in January for free, because when anybody enters the last 6 months of their contract, they're able to talk to clubs outside of whatever league they play in. So, i.e., Varane could talk to clubs outside of the Premier League, and he could sign a pre-contract. So, I don't know. It's strange because as I said, on his Transfer Market thing, it says that his contract expires in June 2025. So maybe they have it, triggered that 1 year thing, and it's just not been shouted about. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, finally, let's talk a little bit about the stadium, because obviously that's a really, really important topic. The headline this afternoon is that apparently Jim Ratcliffe is going to include the fans and do some sort of vote to get the fans' opinions on the new stadium, on whether they knock down the other one, they knock down Old Trafford, whether they build a new one. So that'll be really interesting to see that happen, and I think that is definitely the correct point of call. I think getting the fans interacting and engaging with the club again is very important, and to make the fans feel like they're actually being heard, because at the moment I think under the Glazer regime we feel like we're being ignored, we feel like we're being pushed aside, and I think that creating that connection again between the kind of Manchester United hierarchy, the people who run the business side of it, and the fans is so important, because we should have a voice in this club, because part of the reason we're so successful is because of mine and your support of this team, whether that's from buying football shirts, going to the games, taking out a Sky or a BT membership, or whatever the equivalent is in your country. Like, those are all things which massively contribute to Manchester United's success. So we should rightfully have a say I'm not saying they should allow us to decide who we sign because that's stupid, but like on these big decisions about things that have such sentimental value, like a stadium, the fans should be consulted on this, and I think it is good that Jim Ratcliffe is apparently going to involve the Manchester United fans. But of course, let me know in the comment section. Maybe you don't think the United fans should have a say. Maybe you think that Jim Ratcliffe should just make the decision himself. Obviously, I'm always interested to see what other people think. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It was just a short one tonight. If you've enjoyed the show, please do consider smashing a like. It doesn't cost any money, so I don't know why you wouldn't. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Daily Red Devil. I'll be back at 11 a.m. UK time tomorrow. Have a great evening, everybody, and speak to you all then.